Hi, this is Kevin Pulowski from Paradise Found Studio, and today we're going to go through my home parish of Transfiguration Catholic Church in Marietta, Georgia. What's amazing about this is a lot of churches, kind of a mishmash of beautiful artwork, but it doesn't quite fit together. This church is unique because every piece is kind of a cohesive whole. And that's the vision, two people that I have an opportunity to talk to in this series. And so we're going to be talking to Dale Molnar, the artist, and we're going to be talking also to Father Patrick Bishop, who was part of hiring Dale to do all this work and commission his artwork. So we're going to start with this garden, St. Francis Garden. And it's one of those pieces people walk by every day and probably don't think about the kind of thought that went into it. And so that's what we're going to get into today.
We're standing at one of his and
yours
Doc's dream to a fountain, a water feature with St. Francis of Assisi. Now, St. Francis was chosen because he received a mandate through an icon that God wanted him to transform, to build his church. And St. Francis has been a sign of transformation and reform ever since, which is why our Holy Father took his name when he became the Pope. So we wanted a welcoming garden that would tell people who walked up, you're coming to a place where there is the cooling water of life that constantly understands we are growing in our knowledge and our commitment to God and to church, and that brings forth all the different signs of life in animals and in plants that show us the goodness of our Creator. The dream went to the architect.
The landscape company at the time had offered ideas for renovating this particular space. And my concern was, although it was a very nice landscape design that they offered, it didn't go far enough, because this space is not just the entrance to the church, but it's also liturgical space. We use this for the Easter Vigil. We use it when we gather for Palm Passion Sunday. I felt that we needed to do more, and so we started the process. A lot of back and forth and discussion. Had a friend who was a Franciscan, and he suggested I read a book called We Were With St. Francis, and it's just a collection of anecdotes written by the Lesser Brothers who were talking about their life with St. Francis. There were lots of little things that I gleaned from that, and I wanted to make an image of Francis that was truthful.
Which I had a hard time with, because Francis had a wonderful, beautiful soul, but he was an awkward-looking human being.
Actually,
short too.
Yes, actually, one of the descriptions was they said he had an Etruscan nose, whatever that is. I don't know.
I got one.
Not a Roman nose, but an Etruscan nose. But there were also various things, like whenever he saw another one of the brothers that needed some cloth for a robe or something, he would rip part off of his, and his alb was always in rags. And because of that, they would give him one of theirs, and since he was very short, it was always ill-fitting, which gave him more opportunity to rip pieces of cloth off and distribute. He was always open and welcoming, and that was an important part of how I envisioned him being here, with his arms open, but also having the bird land on his hand. They had a top knot, and it reminded him of what the monks wore. The lark, that's it, the larks.
Reminded him of the hood?
Yeah, it reminded him of the hood. And one of the things that we discussed was how this welcoming prayer garden should represent all the sorts of different aspects of love. And so we have the fraternal love of the birds. In the evening, they would flock together and make a great noise before they would go to roost at night. And in the front of the garden, there's a fox and a hare. And the fox is bending his neck to expose his neck, which is a canine attitude of non-aggression, of submission. And the hare, the European hares, when they greet each other, they actually reach out and touch each other. And so the hare is reaching out towards the fox. And that represents an aspect of love as well. And then I said, I want to have a dog that represents unconditional love. And of course, Monsignor said, and what sort of a dog would that be? And I recalled my first meeting where his dog at the time,
My Basset brought us together.
Temperance, when I went over to the parish house, would follow me around and until I sat down and then sit on my feet, and as if to say, you know, he's one of us. And that kind of started our working together. And so this image of the Basset is actually a portrait of Temperance.
Tear came to my eyes when he brought it here. He said, go look in the car, and I opened the door. And he had it situated so she was looking in my face. By then she had gone to the Rainbow Bridge, and I missed her. And it was, I mean, I knew immediately who the model was.
Whenever I have an image to make and it's not within my expertise, I always seek out the experts. I sought out several different foundries, and I found the one who was able to do the work the best, and incidentally was actually the closest foundry to us here. And then I went and worked with him at the foundry for a while before I worked on making this statue, so that I understood all of the intricacies and problems and structural considerations in doing the bronze sculpture.
And then Doc came to us. Good old Doc.
Yeah.
He's an orthopedic doctor. He calls himself a carpenter. And he had put in water features. And he and Dale worked in developing the looks of this. They got in the truck, and those are real rocks. Those are boulders. They picked up those things, put them in the truck, brought them here, fixed it together. So Doc's expertise was as important as the bronze folks or the...
He also had the knowledge, the expertise to do the construction, to make everything work. There are all sorts of aspects that may not be apparent. A lot of the plant material comes from the Mediterranean and comes from where Francis was located in Assisi. We have a mission olive in this garden. And when Francis was first commissioned to go to Spain, he decided to take an olive tree with him. He took this olive tree to Spain, and then they propagated it by taking cuttings and rooting the cuttings. When the Franciscans then were commissioned to go to the New World, to Mexico, they took cuttings from the olives in Spain to Mexico, and so forth. As they went up into the missions in California, they took cuttings from those trees north. So a mission olive is actually a clone from a clone from a clone, all the way back to St. Francis's time. The idea of the welcoming prayer garden allows people, when they're first gathering, to start the process of transitioning from the world into the more sacred space and into being prepared for the celebrations and the Mass.
It's a good way to welcome people. The waters of this fount recall the waters of the baptismal fount as you walk into the church. It just ties life, living, the goodness of God, and the whole meaning of love and acceptance. It ties it all together so that to the attentive person who is responsive to depictions of art, if you want, you can walk into that church ready to celebrate the goodness of God, the word of the Lord, and the common meal that we believe to be His presence.
Thanks for joining me. And if you have any comments, please leave those behind. And if you like this, please subscribe. Trying to build that subscriber base, so I'd really appreciate that. And hit like. All right, God bless.